You just decided, this is the last time. And if you're honest, you've said that same sentence dozens of times. Not once, not occasionally, dozens. And yet, you're still here. Scrolling when you said you'd stop. Going back to something you already decided to leave. Repeating a habit you fully understand. And still can't break. And here's the part that should bother you a little. It doesn't even feel like a decision anymore. Same habit. Same trigger. And the same moment where you realize you're not even choosing anymore. There's a specific reason your brain refuses to let this go. And it has nothing to do with discipline, because at some point, this stops being a choice and starts becoming a loop your brain runs without asking you. You're not repeating this because you're weak. You're repeating it because your brain has wired this habit to a reward you depend on, relief, a break from stress, a distraction from something you don't want to feel, or just something familiar when everything else feels uncertain. And once that connection is built, you don't go back because you want the habit. You go back because your brain wants what the habit gives you. And that's why this feels so frustrating, because you know better, but knowing doesn't stop the cycle. It just turns every repetition into guilt. And once you see what's actually driving this, you won't be able to unsee why you keep going back. This pattern is hard to catch, because it feels completely normal while it's happening. Nothing about it feels dramatic. Nothing about it feels like you're losing control. It just feels reasonable, like telling yourself you'll check your phone for a minute, and suddenly it's been 40. Not because you forgot the time, but because part of you didn't want to stop. And the frustrating part is, you can see it happening, and still don't stop. That's the pattern. If you pay attention, you'll notice this same loop shows up in more places than you think. You sit down to do something important, and suddenly your brain starts offering alternatives. Check something quickly. Reply to that message. Do something easier first. Your brain uses the same avoidance loop here too, not all at once, just enough to tell yourself it doesn't count. And before you realize it, you've avoided the thing completely. Then there's the moments you go back to something you already decided to leave. Not in a big, obvious way, just one small step, one message, one check-in, one moment where you tell yourself it's harmless. It fades into the background, and you keep going anyway. And every time you give in, you're reinforcing something your brain is learning very fast. The loop gets easier, faster, more automatic, until you reach a point where stopping feels harder than continuing. Because the moment you stop, there's nothing left to distract you from what's underneath. And that's when it becomes clear. The habit isn't what's pulling you back. It's what you're trying not to feel that keeps you stuck in it. This isn't random. Your brain is running a loop, and it's getting better at it every time you repeat it. And the more you repeat it, the less control you actually have over it. Here's how it works, but not in the way you've probably heard before. A moment hits you. Something small but uncomfortable. A slight pressure. A restless feeling. Something you don't want to sit with. And almost instantly, you move. You open something, switch tasks, reach for a distraction, not a big reward. Just enough of a shift to make staying feel easier than stopping. You feel stressed, you grab your phone, and within seconds, the edge is gone just enough to keep scrolling. That tiny shift is everything, because your brain isn't optimizing your life. It's optimizing your immediate relief. And every time this works, even slightly, your brain locks it in as a go-to solution. Every time you escape that feeling, your brain is quietly learning. This works. Do this again, and it gets faster, more automatic, harder to interrupt. Your brain starts anticipating the relief before you even do anything. So now, the moment that uncomfortable feeling begins, the urge hits before the thought does. You don't sit and decide. You feel pulled. And it feels natural. Like it's just what you want to do, but it's not random. It's a learned response your brain has repeated so many times. It stops asking you, And this creates a problem most people don't realize until they're deep in it. Because by the time you notice it, you're already inside it. The tab is open. The action has started. The justification is already forming. And this is the part that makes the cycle so hard to break. Because you're not fighting the habit. You're interrupting a loop your brain trusts. A loop that's built to shut down discomfort as fast as possible. Even if it means keeping you in the same place. This is the part most people never realize, even after years of trying to stop. Because this loop doesn't just repeat, it upgrades. Every time you go through it, your brain isn't just remembering the relief. Your brain is making it easier and faster to escape the next time you feel uncomfortable. Shorter gap between trigger and action. Less awareness in between. Faster pull. What used to feel like a decision starts feeling like a reflex. And this is where you start losing control without noticing it. Not all at once, but gradually. You stop noticing the beginning of the loop and only realize it when you're already deep into it. You open your phone for just a second, and suddenly you're 27 minutes deep, switching between apps, not even sure what you opened first. The thing you were supposed to do, still untouched. And here's the part that traps you deeper every time. Guilt doesn't break the loop. It feeds it. Because now it's not just stress or boredom anymore. Now it's, I did it again. And your brain wants relief from that too. So what does it reach for? The same loop. That's how it tightens. You're no longer just escaping discomfort. You're escaping the awareness that you're stuck. You're not stuck because you lack discipline. You're stuck because your brain is getting better at keeping you stuck. And the scary part is, you don't feel it getting worse. It just feels normal. At some point, it stops feeling like a bad habit and starts feeling like something is wrong with you. And there's a specific moment in this loop where you can still stop it. But almost nobody notices it. And this is why even people who understand this pattern still can't stop it. Because awareness alone doesn't interrupt it. Sometimes it makes it worse. Now you're not just in the loop, you're watching yourself stay in it. And that frustration, it becomes the next trigger. Trigger, action, relief, guilt. Repeat. Faster each time. And after enough repetitions, something starts to break internally. You stop trusting your own decisions. You start thinking, why do I keep doing this? But the real damage isn't the habit itself. It's that your brain has learned to choose relief over intention. Automatically. And once that happens, you're not just trying to stop a habit anymore. You're trying to interrupt something that runs faster than your conscious mind. That moment I mentioned earlier. This is where everything can change. It's not at the beginning. And it's definitely not when you're already deep in it. It's the exact moment your brain says, do something, and your body is about to follow. There is a tiny gap between feeling and action, and almost nobody notices it. It's when your thumb is already moving toward your phone, but pauses for half a second. When you're about to switch tabs, but there's a flicker of hesitation. When your hand is already moving, but hasn't fully committed yet. That's the only moment where this loop hasn't taken control yet. The habit doesn't control you instantly. It waits for you to not notice the moment you could stop it, and this is the part almost nobody uses, not because it's hard, but because it's uncomfortable. You've felt this before. At tiny hesitation, right before you open something. Most of the time you ignore it. This time, don't. Next time this happens, don't stop yourself. Just pause for 3 seconds and watch what your brain does. Because if you miss that moment, you already know how the next 30 minutes go. And in that pause, you catch your brain in the act. You'll feel it immediately. That restless, itchy pressure to just move. To click something. Open something. Escape it. That feeling? That's the real trigger, and something most people avoid instantly shows up, not the habit, the discomfort underneath it. That's where control actually begins, not by forcing yourself to stop, but by staying there for a few seconds longer than you normally would. And that tiny gap? That's where the pattern starts to break. Because for the first time, you didn't follow the script. Your brain expected relief, but you didn't give it that. And if you use this moment correctly, the urge starts weakening faster than you expect. Not disappearing, but losing its automatic pull. And this is where people get it wrong. They waste energy trying to get rid of the urge. But the goal isn't to remove it, it's to outlast it, even briefly, because every time you stay in that moment, even for a few seconds, you're teaching your brain something new. That you don't need the habit to handle the feeling. And once that starts to register, the loop doesn't just feel interruptible, it starts to lose control over you. At this point you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually stop this for good? And the truth? You don't stop the habit the way you think you should. Because this was never about quitting completely. It's about stepping into the loop instead of letting it pull you along. That moment you almost grab your phone, or your hand hovers over the fridge, or you reach for that snack without thinking. That's the split second that matters. Every tiny pause, just a second, teaches your brain, I don't have to follow this automatically. Not in a flash, not perfectly, but enough times to change the wiring. Think of the last time you almost stopped, but didn't. That near miss? That's gold, because now you know it's possible, and catching it consistently rewrites the loop. Your brain will fight you at first. The urge spikes. The itch feels unbearable. That's not failure. That's proof the loop is real. And here's the key. You won't catch it every single time, but catching it often enough rewrites the loop. The pull comes. Thumb hovering, hand trembling, eyes flicking. You pause, hesitate, and just stay there for a second longer. That tiny gap? That's where control actually begins. You're not breaking the habit. You're training your brain to respond differently in the same old loop. And if you use this method consistently, you'll notice something shocking about your habits. Something most psychologists don't even talk about. This is how the habit stops running your life. One pause at a time. Because once you see the loop clearly, you stop thinking it's your fault. And that's when change really begins. If this helped you finally see your habits, try it right now the next time the urge hits. And if you want more videos that show exactly how your brain works and how to outsmart it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because once you understand the loops running your life, you stop reacting and start choosing.